don't even know where I should start at. It was like a spur of the moment thing. I'm just going to jump right on this Mini Cooper. I was supposed to start on a Monday. But either way, it's got a misfire. And let me just tell you, I'm in the process of pulling the heads off. I already diagnosed the car and everything. And man, let me tell you, I will never own one of these, ever. The front end, the core support, all that stuff has to come off. In hindsight now, if I had to do it again, it wouldn't be so bad. I didn't have to take the bumper cover off, but I did. Don't tell anybody. Fudge cake. It's a lot. There's a lot going on. But I will say this. I'm pretty sure probably taking the bumper cover off was the hard part. Knock on wood, so I'd imagine. But we're going to find out. I'm still in the process of course, obviously getting the head off. But what's going on here, I'm not going to go through a repair video. This is absolutely not going to happen. I just want to see and get everybody else, just in case they're dealing with any type of misfires with this vehicle, to put their eyeballs on the misfire of like what's occurring with this. And I narrowed it down to just an exhaust valve. And I'm not sure. I don't think the valve or anything has fallen or anything, damaged the piston. It's not making any type of noises. At the moment, it isn't. When I got the car, I'm not sure what originally was going on. So when I pull this turbo off, we're gonna see exactly what's happening. And so that's what we're gonna see today. Because when I did a leak down, or I put pressure inside the cylinder, I tried to close the valve, rotate the engine, make sure the valves were all closed, and pressure starts seeping out through the exhaust side on the turbo side here. I thought it was the intake. I pulled the intake off, visually inspected to see if there was any type of carbon buildup. This is direct injection. That wasn't the issue. The valves looked pretty decent. There was a lot of oil in the turbo charge pipe, and to pull the plugs out, they were fouled. So I'm pretty sure it's a combination, probably a few things. It may have low compression on the cylinders. I'm gonna say I don't know, simply because I just isolated the cylinder. It was number 4, and I tackled that. So I know for a fact 4 doesn't have any compression. All these other cylinders are working fine. But I'm, for the sake of just the video, I'm going to get compression from a far away cylinder, which is number 1 here, and then we'll just take compression from the bad cylinder, or the dead cylinder, and then I'm going to pull the turbo off, and we're going to both look and see if that valve is actually compromised. Maybe just throw some water in there, smoke test it. I could do a lot of things. When I did have, while I was diagnosing the vehicle, I did take the oxygen sensor out, or the after ratio sensor here. This is the upstream one. And when I went to close the valves off, I could hear air whizzing through the exhaust, and I can also feel it in the bung there, the port. So I'm very confident there's something wrong with the exhaust valve. But when I get this off, the machine shop's going to go completely through this joker, replace all that was suspected to go off. Believe it or not, this engine only has 42,000 miles on it. So it was pointless for me to put an engine in there, and it doesn't have any bottom end problems. I'm not going to put something worse in there than what's already really decent. And so we're going to get the machine shop, do all the valves, put valve seals. He's going to take care of it. So that's going to be out of my worries. Not even worry about it. Let's go ahead and do a compression test, see what the compression is. I'm going to let you hear it, and then we'll pull the turbo off. We'll look inside the number 4 port for the exhaust side and see what the hell is going on here. That sound that you heard when the vehicle caught itself to start up, so while it was rotating, you heard a drop off. It was like, and then that sound of falling off was the drop in pressure from number 4. So I get questions on online here about, like, my car's a misfire. Sometimes you have to do audible diagnosis. And when I hear that, like a drop in pressure, if the car has a flood clear mode, press the accelerator pedal down to prevent it from starting up, you will hear it. And I'm going to pull all those coils out, and I'm going to let you hear how that cylinder sound that's not contributing over all the other three. So that sound that you heard, that drop in pressure, was that cylinder 4 right there. That's the one I diagnosed. And just for the shits and giggles, I am going to do a quick compression test so everyone can kind of get a visual on that. These coils just simply slide out, which is cool. I'm going to have it start up. I feel like I'm hustling back. We're going to try this compression test again. I had to change up some things because my last compression tester gauge didn't want to work. So I got another one here. Let's see how that work out. I'm going to check number 4 first, and then I'll check the defective one. I do still have a spark plug out number 4, so it's going to make a lot of noise. God damn it, man. Valve core. So my compression tester obviously doesn't want to work, and both of them are just like screwed up. So either way, I'm extremely confident, even with the leak down test, that I have a low cylinder pressure on number 4. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to show you any numbers. However, I'm 90% confident we got a blown valve or a defective valve on the exhaust side based on everything I did. We're gonna pull it down, do a visual inspection since my equipment doesn't want to work. Got the exhaust bolts taken out, and down at the bottom there was a flange pipe for the down pipe for the exhaust, which used a V-band clamp, which is a great idea on a newer car versus the old style that they used to use, because it was so subjected to having issues. So especially when separating, and the fasteners that hold on, the bolts and nuts and stuff that hold on to it. So there was a 10 millimeter, 17, I want to say, what was it? It was 18, 19, I want to say, for these, but I think this was a 17 for the oil. Yeah, it was a 17 millimeter. Either way, the manifold's removed. I'm going to go ahead and now take this off, and we're going to see how this valve look. Okay. Not sure what this is, but I'm going to try to, okay, let's see if I can get it out of there. This looks like, man, what is this? Definitely a chunk of metal there. Lay this off to the side here. So after cleaning that piece that was in there, it looks like it's a piece of plastic, like a umbrella that goes to a fastener for like a quick connect or Christmas tree. That's what it looks like. There's a lot of oil in here. A lot of oil. I don't know. I'm not going to know anything until I pull the cylinder head out of there. But I'm definitely confident that there's something up with this valve. I could take my little camera down here and take a look up in there. Let me do that. So I couldn't see that well with the inspection camera, but I will say one thing I did notice with this car is that somebody already been through this. And I'm going to show you. Look right here. There's copper spray on the head gasket. Looks like copper spray right there. Call me crazy, but somebody already been through it. And when I pulled the intake off, I could see that it wasn't like factories. Like somebody already done tampered with it. It was easy to get off, and I'm like, I know there got to be some type of brackets holding the intake on versus the bolts that are just there to hold the intake. Normally, like if there's an additional bracket, because the dealership typically go overboard with keeping the stuff intact. But this looked like copper spray here. Somebody probably already been through this before. I'm not sure if there was like a manufacturer defect or something, and you know, maybe the dealers had to go through it, and probably, I highly doubt it, but I've seen AAA reuse head gaskets before, so I'm not sure if somebody didn't reuse the head gasket or put copper spray on there to prevent the head gasket from leaking. Don't know, not sure, but I'm only going to know I'm not going to know until I get this head gasket exposed and the cylinder head off, and then I'll definitely know for sure. But I highly doubt putting copper spray on from the manufacturer is normal protocol. So unfortunately, like I said, I couldn't get the camera in there. I couldn't look at the valve, inspect that, see the condition of it. So I guess I'm gonna have to resort to just pulling the head off. Then we'll be able to get a visual inspection, and then I'll definitely know for sure what exactly happened. We'll still got this tool here for the timing set for this N18 engine for the Mini Cooper off of Amazon. Very reasonable price. I'm definitely gonna put the link down in the description. So sound like everybody else. Totally unintentional. This is missing one of these doohickeys. It's not missing. It's actually in place. So I rotated the engine. Let me pull it out actually. I'm gonna show you. All right, so here's the other lock. So it came with everything that it needed. I just had it sitting in the bell housing for the flex plate. So I'm going to show you how to do the timing on here. It seemed to be pretty simplistic, but I'm just going to put some additional time marks on here when I get everything lined up, especially these top brackets here. And so I shouldn't have to, but I'm just like, what if, you know? So I do have some brake cleaner up there. I was cleaning some stuff off. So first thing, you want to rotate the crankshaft, the crank bolt, obviously in the front of the engine, until you are able to fit one of these locking pins in place, and that is right under the bottom on the engine side, and it'll be facing inside the it would technically still be the bell housing. It would be facing the bell housing towards transmission. So this direction here, transmission's on that side. All right, so looking down at the front of the engine, we're going to look at the downpipe for the exhaust system here, and the hole is going to simply be right here. And it's going to sit. If it's lined up properly, it'll fall right into place just like that. I'm not sure what this other lock pin goes into. It didn't specify. So we're going to use this first lock, cam lock here, and we have a socket, or nut here on the end of the camshaft, and we're going to fit it right on top of there, assuming our timing is appropriate. Now, I imagine if it was 180 degrees off, it wouldn't work appropriate either. And we're going to go, so there's our exhaust cam. We're going to go to the intake cam, and we're going to use this other portion here and slide it right on there. Now, before I bought this, I read on the reviews from Amazon that people were complaining about clearance issues. This is extremely tight, not having any issues at all. So this was definitely a good buy. So those 3 screws that were, oh shit, I'm screwing up life. All right, here we go. So those three screws, I'm going to take those. I'm going to run those inside here. And then there's another one here. It's not gonna. Alright, then I'm gonna run the other one in the back of this one. So they fit right into the cam retaining ports, the threaded area for the cam cover or the valve cover. So that's where this fastener is on the outskirts of the cylinder head. And I don't know what I gotta use to tighten this up. It looks like a 10 millimeter. This is 8, not gonna work. Use a 10 there, snug it down. 10 there. And I'm not gonna worry about that. I just need that to stay in place. So, from what I understand, my timing is dead on right now. And the other portion, the other tool that I got here, this goes in the port for the timing chain tensioner. So if I wanted to, I don't know, if I had to do anything that required keeping the tension on the timing chain, I would put this in there, and I could adjust this screw and put the necessary slack or some preload on the timing chain there. But I'm not gonna use this one at the moment. But if I did have to, I would. Let me show you. Now, if I wanted to use that other tool, I would have to take this oil control valve out of here, and I'm gonna have to do that anyway, because it seems like I don't have any clearance to get a socket on the back of that timing chain tensioner. So let me use a appropriate hex bit to get that out. See, it looks like a T30. I can slide this in here. I know it's gonna leak. So here's the other tool. Slide this in there. The timer chain has a lot of slack on it. Just gonna turn this all the way in there. Just putting a preload on the timing chain tensioner there. So that's in place. I got it. Got the tensioner in. Now, from what I understand, you can just snug it. I mean, I'm just using a little bit of common sense here. I mean, that it shouldn't have to be like extremely tight. So here's everything put in place. I got the lock pin in there at the flywheel or flex plate. We got the cams locked up, and here's our device to put preload on the timing chain here. So like I said, I'm just using common sense as far as tightening it up. My cams are locked in place, which is the main concern, and the crank. So I'm not worried too much about the cams. For what I understand, these cams here are going to freewheel. I am going to pull these out because this is the only thing left I have to do before I'm able to pull the head off. Once I take the timing chain loose. But again, those cams those locks are doing a really good job as far as staying in place. So I'm gonna get these cam gears off, and or the phasers, or whatever you want to call them, and pull this head out and see what the valves look like. So I already got the exhaust loose. I'm going to go ahead and do the intake. This is an E14, and I didn't bother to put any marks up there. I just got to have a little faith in those cam locks there.
So yeah, this is going to freewheel. So I'm not going to worry about the timing, just like all the other vehicles. I mean, they have like locks and stuff on them. From what I understand, this is not even in a top dead center position. So you can see them there. From what I understand, they'll freewheel. Now, I might be. Let me see. Let me let off some tension. Yeah. I do have quite a bit of movement. Let's pull this off. It does freewheel. Yeah, they're just going to freewheel. They're not going to. There's no specific orientation. Yeah. These supposed to be. Well, should inform if they're exhaust or intake. Yep. Okay, there you go. So it does say IN here on the cam gear. It says IN here. I don't want any slack to get down there. See if I can leave this up. And this does say exhaust on there, so. Alright, so the head gasket, this does have copper spray on it. Like it was reused before. That's crazy. I'm let the timing chain sit down like so. I think I can pull that back up. Let's pull that off. Yeah, there's copper spray on there. Whew. You can see the original color at the bottom of it. Hopefully it doesn't have a glare on there. Lay it off to the side. I got a little nervous. I thought there was a crack in there. Let's clean it off. Just want to make sure it wasn't a hole in the piston. See, you can tell somebody already been through this. This is like this is the aftermarket gasket there. The housing look new. So you can see at top dead center, all of them at 90 degrees and everything is just flush. So it doesn't matter where the timing is. There's no timing marks. The only timing marks you have to have is the tool that's going to ensure that everything is locked in place. So if I turn this off, hopefully everything was coming out the exhaust side of things. So I'm gonna have to check on this. Okay, cool. Let's take a gander at. So here's the back. Number 4 is here. Here's the exhaust side, and here's our exhaust valves, and they aren't closed. So what I'm gonna do, rotate the camshaft and see if I can get those valves to close. I'm gonna take a wire brush to it too, so we can look at it a lot better. I'm gonna rotate them and see if I can get them to close, and see if it's just they're bent, and because I'm not sure. But obviously, good thing to know is somebody already been through it before, so I'm not sure what they tried to correct from a previous repair. But Yeah, look, it's pretty clean in there. So here's our exhaust valves, and so I'm gonna add the brake cleaner. If it's watertight, then it should be airtight. So let's see what happens. It's coming out that valve right there. So that was a good find. Unfortunately, even though my compression tester was probably just jacked up initially, I mean, it was kind of pretty much a feel, listening by going by ear, just an experience type thing. I mean, you can hear when the cylinder's down on pressure. It'll have that drop off like we saw earlier. Now, I did take this off all in one day. I didn't break this up in 2 days or anything. This took about 5 hours to get to this point of pulling the head off. This is not a fun job. And that old video with the Ford Flex, I will do those every day for the rest of my life. I will not want to do these ever again. I hate it. I didn't curse too much at it. It was just the hard part, honestly, was pretty much getting the front cover off. That was the bulk of the work. And you got to drain the air conditioning, drain the coolant. And luckily, like I said, some of the stuff I replaced before, because that plastic always makes me fearful. You start messing with plastic, you bound to break stuff, and this is going to be a headache. But luckily, somebody had been through it. Some of the stuff was replaced already. And again, the car only got 42,000 miles or something like that on it. So it's a very low mileage engine. And it's weird that that head obviously had problems before. So it's no telling what the machine shop has done initially, because this head gasket is not supposed to have copper spray on it. I mean, unless somebody's put it on there for security purposes. But from the manufacturer, I've never seen a factory put copper sealant. Yep, look at that. It's on my gloves there. I've never seen somebody put copper spray on a head gasket during an original assembly. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's a BMW thing, but you know, these aftermarket alternatives are something typically people shun away from because that's not factory recommended. You know, but then again, manufacturers are assembling vehicles with sealant now, and people were always in opposition to that. So this job is supposed to take, if you're wondering about labor time, 20 hours. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier, but 20 hours to put this from start to finish. I had another labor guy that was saying something different, but 20 hours what I quoted. And this is, like I said, this is not for the faint-hearted. I don't recommend anybody doing this. Now, like I said, the timing is the easy part. I ain't have to put no thought into it. I trust the equipment that I got. You know, it's all lined up like it's supposed to. When I put it back, everything's going to be lined up appropriately. I feel good about it. Only concerns I have is just the frustration of having to put all this stuff back together. I'm not going to like that. And I'm lucky that the cylinder didn't have any issues as far as the piston. Luckily, the valve was leaking, and I was spot on as far as it narrowing down to the exhaust valve. It's just the 10% that I wasn't too confident on, and that was just, the rest was just visual. And we tested the exhaust valve, and it leaked. If it can't hold water, if it's not watertight, then it's not airtight. And there's our problem right there. So despite the compression tester wanting to act stupid, I'll just have to get another one. So I'm going to get a brand new head gasket. All that's going to get replaced. Obviously, that's going to be brand new. I'm just going to get a whole new head gasket set. So we'll get a new valve cover, and I'm going to change the diaphragm in that valve cover, because when it was running originally, it didn't run that well, and it was pushing oil out. So I'm going to replace that. I'm going to, of course, use new head bolts. Those are torque to yield. Of course, we're going to get new coolant, and of course, I got to refill the air conditioning. course, fresh oil. That's the basic, and spark plugs. Pretty much. I mean, the machine shop is the one who has to do all the work right now. That head, look, the hard part, I think, is on the machine shop. All I got to do is take some bolts off and put some bolts back together. All that meticulous calculation that is needed to be all precise and stuff. Look, I give them guys credit. They know their stuff. So he's going to do an entire valve job on there, new valve seals, new everything, and whatever. So we don't have to go about this in the future. I don't want this car coming back. I want it to last another 100,000 miles. Hopefully there's some updated parts to go in there. I'm hoping, but we'll see. I don't know. But I do feel bad for the person who has to go through this. And even if it was like the carbon issue with the valves, I mean, it's pretty bad to get in the back of there. At least the Volkswagens are in the front. But I don't like Volkswagens. I don't like Mini Cooper. I don't like anything. I just want a simple car that works, put gas in and drive. That's what I want. And unfortunately, having to work on these vehicles, I don't care how good it looks. These cars, this BMW or Mini Cooper, whatever you want to consider it, it's a high-end woman to me. She costs a lot of money. She got to go. I'll take a 3 with the 9 personality all day over a 9 image and a 3 personality and a, 9 image and a 3 personality. So that's how I look at it. And she need to get the first to get the hell on out of here. So I'm going to get this done, get this sent off. Unfortunately, it's the weekend. It's Saturday. Get it sent to the machine shop Monday. Hopefully I'll get it back. And I'm going to spend my night like I'm doing right now, since nobody's bothering me and I got all my big jobs done with. Spending my nights going ahead and getting this knocked out and drive 100 miles, recheck everything, make sure it's good before I give it back. So I know a lot of shops don't do that. It just fix it, it runs, it cranks, ship it on out. Nope, I'm driving everything 100 miles before I give it back, and then I'm going to recheck it. So I need to make sure I keep my reputation up. But other than that, hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, have the reassurance of my work. See you on the next one.